The alarm hadn't stopped wailing for 3 hours. Alara pressed her palms against the sterile metal of the medbay counter, watching the tactical display flicker with red emergency markers. The Corvash Garrison, a military outpost housing 200 of the galaxy's most decorated soldiers, was in complete disarray. Not because of an attack, not because of a system failure, but because of what lay in the recovery pod behind her. Medic Alara. Commander Thex's voice crackled through the comm, his usual composure fractured. Status report immediately. She glanced over her shoulder at the small form curled in the pod, tubes running from her tiny arm, her chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. The cub is stable, Alara replied quietly. Critical but stable, a pause. Then the Alpha matriarch is approaching our sector. She'll have 40 minutes. She's leading a battle fleet of 30 warships. Alara closed her eyes. Of course she was. 6 hours earlier, a Corvash patrol had found the cub drifting in a damaged escape pod near the verge, a lawless stretch of space where pirates preyed on the weak. The cub, no more than 4 solar cycles old, had been shot. Twice. Her small body bore burns from energy weapons, and her left leg was shattered. The patrol brought her here, to the only medical facility within 3 systems. They brought her to Alara. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy. They were the ones who ran toward danger when everyone else fled. They were the medics who stayed behind on dying ships, the engineers who held hull breaches closed with their bare hands, the soldiers who threw themselves on grenades meant for alien comrades. The galaxy called them reckless, suicidal, noble fools. Alara simply called it instinct. She'd worked through the night, her hands steady despite the knowledge that this wasn't just any wounded child. This was Rin, daughter of matriarch Shavara, ruler of the Alpha Collective, the most feared warrior civilization in 4 quadrants. The Alphas didn't negotiate. They didn't forgive. And they certainly didn't forget. Saving the cub might spare the garrison. But one mistake, one failure, and every soul here would be ash. Alara had worked anyway. Now as dawn broke over the station's artificial horizon, something unexpected was happening. Through the medbay's reinforced windows, Alara could see them. Corvash soldiers, Verdani scouts, even the station's Quillan engineers. They sat in the corridor outside her door, backs against the walls, weapons laid aside. Waiting. Silent. What are they doing? Alara had asked Lieutenant Kress earlier. The Corvash warrior, a 7-foot wall of scales and battle scars, had looked at her with something she'd never seen in his predatory eyes before. Reverence. Guarding, he'd said simply. The human protects the cub. We protect the human. By midday more had come. They filled the corridor, then the adjoining sections. Some brought offerings, food from their homeworlds, small tokens, prayers written on scraps of datapad screens. They didn't speak. They simply took their positions, creating a living shield between Rin and any threat that might come. Alara checked the cub's vitals again. Heart rate steady, bone regeneration progressing. The worst was over. Rin would live. Incoming transmission, the computer announced. Priority Alpha. The holographic display shimmered to life, and Alara found herself staring at matriarch Shavara herself. The Alpha leader was massive, her silver fur marked with ritual scars, her eyes burning with barely contained fury. Behind her, Alara could see the bridge of a warship, weapon systems glowing hot. Human. The word was a growl. You hold my daughter. Alara straightened, meeting that terrible gaze without flinching. I'm treating your daughter, matriarch. She's alive. She's going to recover. Shavara's claws flexed. The ones who harmed her? Unknown. She was alone when we found her. A long silence. The matriarch's nostrils flared, scenting for deception across the vacuum of space through sheer force of will. I am told, she said slowly, that your entire garrison sits outside your medical chamber, that they have not moved for hours. Alara glanced toward the door. Yes, matriarch. Why? How could she explain? How could she make this warrior queen understand that humans had a weakness, a fatal flaw written into their DNA? They couldn't turn away from a child in pain. Any child. Any species. It didn't matter if that child belonged to an enemy, to a monster, to a god. A human would burn their own world to ash before letting a child suffer. Because, Alara said quietly, she's small. She's hurt. And she's scared. That's all that matters to us. Shavara's expression was unreadable, then impossibly her shoulders lowered. The tension bled from her massive frame. I will arrive in 30 minutes, human. Prepare my daughter for transport. Respectfully, matriarch, no. Ilara's voice was steel-wrapped in silk. Rin needs another 48 hours of treatment before she can be safely moved. I won't risk her recovery, not even for you. The warriors on Shavara's bridge froze. Commander Thex's panicked voice exploded through Ilara's earpiece. No one refused an alpha matriarch, but Shavara didn't attack. She didn't rage. Instead, she leaned closer to the hologram, studying Ilara with ancient, knowing eyes. You would defy me to protect my own cub? I would defy the stars themselves to protect any cub, matriarch. That's what humans do. For a heartbeat, the universe held its breath. Then Shavara did something no one in the galaxy had ever witnessed. She lowered her head. A gesture of respect, of acknowledgement. 48 hours, the matriarch said. My fleet will take position around your station. Not as a threat, human, as additional protection. No one will harm my daughter while she remains in your care. The transmission ended. Behind Ilara, Rin stirred in her sleep, making a small sound, half whimper, half purr. Ilara moved to her side, adjusting the blankets, checking the monitors one more time. Outside, the garrison remained at their posts. Inside, a human medic kept her vigil, and somewhere in the cold mathematics of the universe, perhaps the galaxy learned something new that day. Humans didn't need to be the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced. They simply needed to care when no one else would. That was enough. That was everything. That was humanity.